Well, South Africa win the series 2-1, but England victorious at Newlands in the third and final test match of the series by 25 points to 10. They managed the conditions superbly well. Their captain, Owen Farrell, kicked 6 penalties and a conversion of Johnny May's try. He didn't miss from the kicking tee. Superb from the England captain. His first win as England captain in his 4th test with the leadership. South Africa will rue the 14 penalties conceded and also the turnovers conceded. 14 penalties, 9 turnovers, 13 handling errors. Just not enough there to build momentum for the Springboks in this third and final test. So England victorious. Down to the post-match presentation with Owen and Kumani.
Well, thank you so much, Matthew. What a great contest at the end, and I thought it was a superb contest, especially with the weather conditions. Our man of the match, Casalaga, man of the match is Johnny May. I'd like to call Mr. Fentambele from our sponsors to present him with the gold coin. Johnny, another great try, but this time around as a team, superb victory.
Yeah, we simpled it back. It's been a tough time at England, but we got our mojo back today and dug deep, and hopefully this will be the start of the rise back.
Talking about the rise back, especially you're going on a break now. Next test matches against South Africa, surely you'll be prepared, more prepared for them?
Yeah, we'll have a bit of a rest, and I'm sure we'll be better than we are now when we face Springboks in the autumn, but I'm sure they'll be better as well. So we'll work hard, focus on ourselves, enjoy tonight, but hopefully we can start winning again and keep getting better.
Glad to see a smile. Safe travels. It's been a great series, and all the best going forward.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Johnny May. Job well done. The losing captain, Siya Kolisi. Siya, not the result you're expecting. Tough one.
Yeah, it was really tough. I think we dropped ourselves in the intensity, a lot of mistakes, and I think the discipline as well wasn't good.
When you look back at the series, what were some of the positives?
Yeah, obviously I think we just started as a new group. I think we got better and better every week. Obviously we dropped up this weekend, but I think the more time we're with each other, the better we get as a team.
18th of August, Argentina and Durban. What is it that this group needs to improve on come the Rugby Championship?
I think from today, I think we just got to make sure we keep our intensity. The higher the intensity, the better we play, and control the tempo of the game. You know, everything was slow today, and I think we're working on England's tempo. I think that was a mistake.
Well, overall, a job well done for the series, and good luck going forward.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it was really enjoyable. Thank you to the people of South Africa for getting behind us. It was really awesome. And the people of Cape Town for coming out in this rainy day today. Really appreciate it.
Sure, Buddha.
Sure, Buddha.
Now, winning captain, Owen Farrell. 2 tough weeks. When it mattered most, you came through.
Yeah, spoken all 3 weeks about us sticking together, and there's been a lot of stuff going on outside, but I'm proud of the way the boys stuck at it, and now it's up to us to make sure that we've come out the other side of these losses. We've got to stick at getting better now, but that's definitely a start.
What was the difference when you look at the first 2 test matches and today?
I think penalty counting's one, definitely, and I thought we stayed engaged throughout the game. I thought there was far less errors in us today, even in these conditions, and I thought to a man, each and every one of these boys were bang on it today.
Next test match against South Africa in November. What is it that you're going to learn from this trip to make sure you get a victory back home?
You know, we weren't too far off before. As you said, sometimes when you have a few losses in a row, your confidence gets knocked, and you start getting a bit too desperate. I don't think today we was desperate whatsoever. We was in control of what we were doing. We'll have to take that forward.
Good luck. We enjoyed you in South Africa, and all the best going forward.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Owen.
So that's how it ends here at Newlands in Cape Town. A very cold day, but in the end also a cold result as far as South Africans are concerned, losing that third and final test against England. So South Africa winning this test series 2-1, and unfortunately just falling at that final hurdle. Adwa, you had so much to pull out of this match, so many nuggets. What for you has been the biggest disappointment?
I think it was obviously a big disappointment for the team. With the conditions that we had today, you knew that they'll be putting us under pressure, well, the Springboks under pressure by kicking those up and unders, and we didn't handle that very well. And the biggest thing was also we couldn't get out of our half. And when we did get out of our half, we couldn't get momentum from our set piece, you know, something that worked for us in the first 2 games where we could drive them and get penalties or score tries from it. Today they just stopped our drives, and at scrum time it was difficult. So, you know, those are the lessons that hopefully this young team can learn and understand that, you know, you need to be able to adapt on all conditions, you know. So those are the lessons I think they'll have to learn.
And another change that they made, they're hitting us very, very hard at the breakdown as well. All those turnovers that they kept getting. Where do you think it went wrong for South Africa there?
Yeah, I think that's key exactly. You know, you can't get any momentum if you don't secure your own ruck. You know, so and they targeted our rucks big time. So it just killed the momentum and it made it difficult for us to build any phases and to get out of our half. So I think England did well in that.
And Johnny May also just that final try, the nail in the coffin, and for him to chase the way he did and outsmart that South African defence.
Yeah, I think Johnny May has been one of the standout performers for England, and you know, it's good for him. I think he also got man of the match, so you know, you can't substitute pace, you know, because where he chased that kick down, he never gave up and scored it at the end.
Yeah, well, a better performance that is from England in this third test on a cold day, conditions that they certainly are used to, but it is the English that walk away, of course, with victory here, 25 points to 10. Let's go quickly and just look at our Land Rover moment.
And Hughes off the back and driven backwards in the tackle by Faf de Klerk.
So that being our Land Rover Beyond a moment, and X is still standing by with our team in one of our zones on the far side of the field. I don't think a lot of happy South African faces there. Jean, Jeremy, as well as Victor joining in.
Yeah, well, thanks, Motini. So there is one man here amongst us who will be smiling. He called the match. He said England by 5. He got even more than he bargained for. Jeremy, you satisfied with that? Is that the England that you expected to come out in match 1?
I think it's a more traditional England. It's quite strange in a way that Eddie, when he first took the job, said, look, I'm going to make England better at what they're traditionally good at. And he went a little bit away from that. And now these conditions, the situation, I think, has driven them to play a set-piece game with backing up with good kicking. The difference today for me, though, was South Africa gave 14 penalties away, England only 6. Yeah. England turned the ball over 9 times, South Africa only 4 times. You add to that the accuracy of Ben Young's kicking, Cipriani's kicking, and Owen Farrell against the South African halfbacks, and there's your win. I think they played smarter, more accurate rugby this evening, and that got them the victory.
Yeah, Jean, that penalty count really started mounting up, and it seemed to have a cascading effect. You know, it was 4, 5, 6, and it just kept on rolling on. It's almost as if the Boks lost control.
Yeah, and I quite enjoyed Owen Farrell's assessment of the game. You know, a lot has been said about his leadership, but I think he summed it up quite well post-match, where he said, he was asked what was the difference between the first 2 games and this one, and he said purely the penalty count. Whereas in the first 2 games, they gave away a lot of penalties, silly penalties, yellow cards. It really cost them. This time around, they were able to force South Africa to make more mistakes, concede more penalties, and England was able to capitalize on that. So that was probably the difference. You know, I suppose the big question mark around South Africa would be, you know, it was quite a resounding win at the end, 25 points to 10. So even though they clawed back nicely, you know, it was sort of with 10 minutes to go, the game was over. So look, it's one of those games where South Africa is, you know, it's still only their 4th game together as a team. They've improved in so many areas. This is certainly one where they can still improve a hell of a lot, and that'll be a focus point going into the next 16 months until World Cup.
Victor, we spoke about the forward battle that we anticipated for this match. The English seem to have stepped it up a lot more than we saw in that first 2 matches. The breakdown battle was an area that they all feel that they dominated. Scrums as well, they contested very nicely at the line-out. Is that the England pack that you expected to see, as asked Jeremy, in match 1 and 2?
It is, but we must still take the conditions into play here. This is what they're used to. The scrum is a longer scrum. It's not like at the Highveld where you can get that shove on and you overpower guys. Here you have to be patient in the scrum. Wait for a mistake, wait for one of the props, maybe just turn an angle and then come through. That's what England do. That's what they do in the Premiership. Again, going to a kicking game. I think they had options from 9, 10 and 12 kicking. We almost just kicked off 5. We never used our 10. We never used Andre Estrada with his left boot. So those are the little things that we will have to have a look at. We know how to play at the half-veld. How do we play in these conditions when it's wet, when it's difficult to keep ball in hand, when it's difficult to stretch maybe a bigger, heavier pack around the field? So those are the little things that we'll have to go have a look at, and how we need to plan to work that out.
Well, there's absolutely no doubt there'll be valuable lessons learned, particularly from the youngsters and those so-called fringe players in the Springbok squad. They are being tested and tried out, and new combinations as well that we haven't seen before that played in this match, though the experienced guys will be fairly disappointed. Victor spoke about the fact that the conditions were not those that South African teams are used to. One of the men that will have relied heavily on is Tendai Mtawarira, who was Mozidi Simohono just a moment ago.
Well, here they are, the Springboks just taking their lap of honour around Newlands. And I know it's a disappointing result, Tendai, but a win in the end with this young team.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think the positive side is that we won the series. Obviously not too happy about the performance today, but we can build on this, you know. And we're a young team, and yeah, I think there's been a lot of good work put in the series.
Game 101 for you. Are you still smarting from all the celebrations that we had in Bloemfontein?
Yeah, and obviously it still hasn't sunk in yet. I think it's really, yeah, just unbelievable, you know, to be part of that elite group of guys, you know, to play my 100th, and it's been, guys really made it special for me. So, yeah, there's still a lot of hard work to come, and I definitely look forward to playing more and just contributing to this team.
Well, thank you for joining us, and a brilliant series in the end for you.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Cheers.
Right, Tendai Mtawarira playing in his 101st Test match this weekend. Obviously celebrating that 100 Test last weekend, and obviously speaking about the fact that they're trying to build depth from a Springbok point of view, Jean, looking ahead to next year's World Cup. Beast is one of those guys who's been around. He's going to be a senior statesman. Do you think perhaps there might be a slightly different role for him rather than being a starter, or is Rassie more keen, do you think, on selecting the more experienced senior players to kick things off, to start off the match? What's your assessment after what we've seen in his last 3?
Yeah, I think so. I think Beast brings that. Obviously he's a fantastic player. He's proven that in the past. He's playing good rugby at the moment, so he's certainly, in the squad because of his performances over the season. But he also brings a lot of experience, and with a young side, I think it is important to have that kind of guy there for the start of the game. And you see it now. It's basically 40-40 with him and Steven Kitshoff. Yeah. And Kitshoff really makes a difference when he comes on. So when that transition happens where Kitshoff will start starting games, we don't know. But I think having the two of them as your two loose heads, I think South Africa is in a very privileged position. We're actually in a position where there's quite a few tight heads as well. Probably 4 or 5 guys that can stake a claim for the 2 tight head positions in a match day 23, and that's a good position to be in. So Beast has got his role to play, as a player, but certainly as a leader in the bigger group as well.
We can't talk loose-head props and not touch on the performance put in by Joe Marler today, Jeremy.
Yeah, conditions again suited him. England knew it was going to be a set-piece game. Joe has been contesting with Mako for some time now, but having the first starting position. Mako went on that Lions tour, became to prominence as a scrummager, bizarrely. Got a bit of a reputation for that, which he didn't have, and that kind of put Marler's out of joint somewhat. But now he's come back, and it was a game for him. He's never going to be massive around the park. He'll make his tackles like the whole of the front 5 do. They very rarely miss it because it's all tight quarters. Yeah. But I always feel that you've got to have your loose head or your tight head. One of them's got to be destructive in some way. And today, neither of our England props were that destructive. They did a job. There was no X factor about them.
Well, we have touched on the big guys, but the small guys have also, during the course of the series, shown the biggest heart, none more so than Faf de Klerk, who also was in front of our cameras a short while ago.
Faf, tough conditions, which, fair to say, England managed a lot better than the Springboks today.
I'm not quite sure about that. I think first off, we had a lot of possession and we had a territory as well. So when we got into change room, it felt like they had more territory, but I think we won that first half in the kicking battle. We started one the second half, and then we just started to lose the ball in the air. And they were good on the scraps, and I think that's where we lost it a bit. So a bit of work for us there, but yeah, I'm very proud of the guys. To get the series win was great. Yeah, we're very, very happy with this loss, but I think we're building, and as a group we understand that we're going. We want to build to become a great side, and we're not going to do that overnight. So hopefully this is a great turning point for us.
Talk to me about your own personal experience being back in this green and gold jersey over this last 3 weeks in a relatively new environment.
Yeah, I've actually absolutely loved it. I think the coaching has been great. I'm enjoying every minute of it. Just the vibe in the team is awesome, and we really do enjoy spending time together. And just to be back is such a blessing. And yeah, I can't give all thanks to God, and just to be back with the team is great. And it's always special to put on this jersey. You never want to lose in it, but like I said, we're building somewhere special, I think. Cheers.
Well, he certainly has given it his all in this three-test series. Even today we saw him put in a wonderful tackle against a way bigger man, but this man certainly has come to the party. It looks as though, Victor, I'm going to ask you because you're the tallest amongst us, and it would be quite an embarrassing thing to be taken back like we saw earlier today by a man this small, but he really has had a wonderful impact in the Springbok squad. We were worried that there wasn't a man to fill that number 9 jersey, to fill the void, as it were, and I suppose going overseas, it's worked out for him.
Yeah, I must say, he's playing with a lot of heart. And in those first 2 games, he was really the guy putting the speed on the ball, getting the Springboks to go forward, playing the right options. Tonight, maybe 1 or 2 mistakes, and that's the thing he has to work on, the error rate. If you're a top-class international scrum off, you can't make errors, and tonight there was just 1 or 2, but still he came back, he did a lot of the kicking, he did a lot of the hard work. So again, the way he put Nathan Hughes back there, that's the big heart from a little man.
I think the beauty that you have and the Boks have, and Razzie will know with Faf, is that he can improve. He can do the running game in his sleep, he can bang that ball out. It's when to make that break and really sucker in the defence, and also the accuracy with his box kicks. In Bloom they were good, tonight not quite so good, so that's something to work on, and when that's accurate, again there'll be more competitive kicks that you can win back and keep the momentum.
Got to ask about his opposite number, Ben Youngs, what that does as a player up against a big name player, up against a Ben Youngs, who you know was a tried and tested player, he's really of international quality. Is that something that players generally take and carry on into the next match and into the careers?
We all love competition. You always want to get one across your opposite number, your opposite second rows, your opposite inside 3 backs. Ben Youngs is 70-odd caps. He's massively experienced. He's been in every sort of situation, and I think he, like the rest of the team, started really slowly. There was no real bounce to their game. Ben Youngs has had a lot of competition from Danny Kerr. Ben Youngs has been injured, and he's normally sniping around the side. I don't think he made a break in the 3 matches, which is very unusual for Ben, which is kind of saying, is he lacking a little bit of confidence? But today he got back in the zone. His box kicks were pretty much on the money, allowed the defensive line to come up, and it worked very well.
I think also what you found from Ben Youngs today was the control that he brought to the kicking game of England, and they just seemed more comfortable in doing it than what South Africa did, and that's probably what gave them the upper hand.
He also did have a nice little snaking run in the South African 22 as well, so certainly still as dangerous as he's always been. But there is a lot of focus from a South African point of view on the young players, and the guys getting their first proper run with the team, first opportunities, and an opportunity to impress Rassie Erasmus. A man who seems to have cemented his place in the wider squad is Kumbuzo Noche, who played off the bench today as well in front of his home crowd. He also spoke to Motsidisi Mohono.
Well, another member of this team that has been doing so well coming off of the bench, that was the mandate for you. How do you rate your performance today?
After that, there's not ratings, It's obviously disappointing to lose at Newlands. But for me personally, unbelievable 4 weeks that I've had with the squad. It's been unbelievable. A dream come true to be a Springbok. But yeah, credit to the boys for the last two performances, but not this one.
Other than this one, there seems to be this a great sort of synergy in the team, a new sort of culture that is brewing. All these youngsters that are able to step up with their experienced guys leading you on. What have you made of just how things have sort of changed in terms of the culture in the team? Yeah,
well, coach always speaks about treating people as adults. On and off the field, it reflected. You know what is right as an adult. You know what is wrong. So if we behave off the field, it will transfer onto the field. But I guess not today. I think today we let ourselves down. We let the people of Cape Town down.
And it's just, they've come out in their numbers. It was a rainy day.
Well, thank you. First and foremost, obviously not an ideal result for them. But, there's a rugby championship that we obviously looking forward to prepare for.
And Super Rugby coming back as well. I'm sure you're excited.
Yeah, excited. I'm excited to go back to the Stormers. Obviously, we haven't had a good season. Rectifying the things in the last couple of games. Leaving next week to Argentina.
Number one. Thank you so much for joining us, Kumbuz.
Thank you very much, Mas.
Uthethile ke uSikhumbuzo Mntakanotshe. He's one of the young stars in the Western Provinces, also one of the young stars in that Springbok squad as well. He's had a stint playing a little bit of sevens. It seems to have had a wonderful impact on his game. His work rate is absolutely immense, and that's probably why, more than anything, Rassi's included him in the squad.
Yeah, and he's one of the few guys that's been involved with all 4 test matches. I think what Rassie wants from him is that bit of sevens experience that he built up and that sort of flair that he brings to the team. With ball in hand, he's quite dangerous, and we probably haven't been able to see enough of that in the series. But he is a very talented guy, and I'm sure his stint with the sevens guys upped his skills. We know how good they are on the individual skills, and I think it's beneficial to anyone that really joins that squad. So, he'll take a lot of confidence out of these 4 games, hopefully play a bit of rugby for Stormers, build on that confidence and play a part in the Rugby Championship.
Is that something that creeps into the 15-man game, players who transfer from sevens at all in England, Jeremy? Because we do see a lot of cross-pollination here, and it seems generally, as Jean says, to have an impact, or a positive impact, on the men in the 15-man game.
Well, back in the UK, the sevens are their own squad, do their own training. It's a totally different conditioning, and I think you become a young star in the sevens game. You travel the world, they got great tournaments. You are building to your own World Cup as well, which is this year in San Francisco. And I think, certainly, I've not known any great star of sevens in England come across and make the transition and become a #1 pick for the England side. I don't think it's happened in
maybe Ollie Barkley, perhaps. And
no, he's too slow. He can play sevens.
All right. Well, we are continuing to hear from a lot of the players who were interviewed a little bit earlier. One of the men who's been absolutely fascinating to catch up with and speak to over the last couple of weeks. He was absolutely surprised that he got a call up. Got an opportunity to get onto the pitch this evening. Schalk Brits.
Schalk, a return to Test rugby, not the result you would have wanted, but tell us about these 2 weeks that you've had in the environment.
Matt, it's been absolutely amazing. Firstly, the surprise call-up. By saying that, it was hard work. Rassie knows what he wants out of the team. You can see in the last 3 weeks the kind of passion they put back in the Springbok shirt. Today didn't go our way. A bit of game management, a bit of work, and it's not great when the results don't go our way, but so you learn, and I think the big focus, people hate saying this, I guess, but it is building a new squad, a young squad. The average age is 25 to the next World Cup. So we tried a new combination. Some of it worked, some didn't. You live and learn.
A lot of turnovers, a lot of penalties. It was difficult to build any kind of momentum in those circumstances.
Yeah, the thing is, if you're playing at Newlands, the ball doesn't... you can't kick it as far. It doesn't carry as far. And if you make penalties in the wet, they're gonna hit you hard. And we struggle to get in their half. So it's one of those things. There was not a lack of effort. It was just some stupid penalties, I would say. But it's something we can work on, something we can improve, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this team can achieve in the next 18 months.
Do you feel confident and satisfied with what you've been able to contribute in the environment these last couple of weeks?
I mean, you've got great coaches here. The little bit I add is just the icing on the top. But you've got great coaches. You've got players that want to learn, players that want to improve, and they want to make the country proud. I mean, the work ethic they put in is unbelievable. So it's proud just sometimes just sitting back. I don't want to say sitting back, but sitting back and watching these boys train, and they've got a determination to become the #1 team in the world.
Well, he certainly has been a valuable player for Saracens over the years, for Western Province, the Stormers and the Springboks as well. Do you see a role for Schalk Brits, maybe Victor I should ask you, that extends beyond just playing? Do you think there's a deeper reason that Rassie would have included him, perhaps his experience dealing with young players, maybe something leaning towards management?
Yeah, I don't really think so. I think that he's there to play, firstly. And I think if you look at our hookers, Malcolm Marx must be our #1. I think Bongi must be our #2. So maybe Russ is looking for that third guy that can maybe come off the bench, or someone with an impact like Schalk Brits does. And Malcolm Marx will, 80% of the time, he will start the test matches. Do you get a guy that's maybe got some other skills than a Malcolm Marx, a guy like Schalk that can run around, that can give offloads away, that put some space into the game? So yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But he still looked pretty good tonight, and let's see what Rusty do with him in the year to come.
Well, talking about experienced players, I've got to ask you about the impact of Danny Cipriani. We haven't really had a chance to talk about his impact being injected into this England team, having been absent from the international squad for so long. Looked absolutely the part, controlled the game. I think it was wonderful today.
Yeah, I think it was a good step for Danny. He's clearly been working hard in training on his attitude and being inclusive and not having a go at guys who drop balls or make errors. And he's taken that onto the field. I don't think he's going to immediately come into the side like some number 10s do and boss it, because Farrell's the overriding character, personality in the whole team, and that includes the back line. So I probably think that he probably submitted slightly to Farrell. He made the calls and Danny executed. But then when it gets a bit looser, he can come into his own. And then I think that becomes difficult for other people to read him, although someone like Daly and Johnny May can get on the end of it. His kick is perfectly weighted for Johnny May to get on the end of. So I think he can be pleased with his performance today.
Do you think he's worked his way back into Eddie Jones' reckoning? Perhaps, as Jeremy says, not as the overarching, I mean, Ford is still young. There's a lot of still to come in terms of experience. But perhaps wangle his way into that squad with an eye on the World Cup.
Yeah, look, I think there's still very healthy competition between him and Ford. Farrell will be there, whether it's 10 or 12, he will be there. And I think what I found from Danny Cipriani today versus the Cipriani that started his last test match in 2008 is just he was composed. He was composed as his 10. Yes, he didn't do the flashy stuff that we know that he can do. Yeah. He was composed, he made good decisions, he didn't make mistakes. And that's what you want from your fly-half. You just want a more all-round performance. And yes, it was maybe driven a lot by Owen Farrell, but I think certainly from his point of view, in these conditions that does not suit his typical style, I think it's a pass mark for him.
What you saw was his natural ability when he kicked the ball through. Yep. That was just a feel of sight, a go for it, bummed it through, and May read it. Brilliant.
Got to ask you about Eddie Jones. There was a lot of pressure on him going into this match. A lot said about what his future entails. Going back to England, having not won the series or potentially losing 3 in a row. This is a pretty convincing performance. Do you think it erases all of that in one fell swoop?
Yeah, I must say, it was interesting seeing him arriving here with a big smile on his face, walking out on the pitch smiling. I think after this victory he'll be there at the World Cup next year. They can't get rid of him now. He had the record for 21 games in a row, 22. Yes, they had a bad year, but sometimes that happens before a World Cup. We had the same, and we still won the World Cup the next year. We took 49-0 from Australia. So I still think he's still got the squad. You could see the guys coming out tonight. Last game of the season, putting in a performance like that, then he's still got that change room.
I think Eddie is experience. He has to reboot. I think there's been some challenges off the field that have resulted with the performances on the field. There's clearly something going wrong given the amount of penalties that they were giving away. It's just, you tell guys not to do it, and if they don't respond, they're not listening to you. So at least they've eradicated that. They put in a solid performance. It's not mind-blowing, but it gets them the opportunity to have a bit of time off, think about what's going on, review the tour, review the performances, and then build towards the World Cup, starting with the box in November.
And what I also saw prior to the game, because a lot of the time you go on a winning streak, then you start losing, and the coach loses his players, but it doesn't seem this team is happy. And beforehand, what I saw is that the players still backing Eddie, and that's a good sign. They put in the performance today.
All right, let's quickly go back to our OB van where Motsidisi is standing by with her final thoughts.
So I'm joined in the OB van by some of our DSTV Now winners, the Russian contingent that came all the way to South Africa to enjoy their very own World Cup in our backyard. And they join us now in our OB van, having just watched this game between South Africa as well as England. So we've got Veronica, she's a.k.a. Mbali, and we have Tatiana, a.k.a. Tando. I have Dima Dimitri, whose name is Tabo, South African name, all named, of course, by Somizi, as well as Slavan, who is Smoo on this side of the equator. Ladies, how did you enjoy the game?
Oh, it's very interesting for me because it's first time in my life when I see in real life this game, rugby. I see this only in the films, maybe.
Only? And for you, have you watched rugby before?
No, it was my first time, and I'm still trying to understand the rules. So I have a general understanding, but for me it's like everybody's going wild, whoa, and we're like, what was that? What was that? What was that?
And for you, Smo, you already even know Shosholoza. Can you sing just a little bit for us?
Yes, a little bit. Shosholoza, Shosholoza, Kulezantabo, Sumela Setube. South Africa.
Chisa, no, Smoo's the one, he can remain. Smooth can remain because at least he knows that rugby song. But of course, you know, all of the action from the 2018 FIFA World Cup in Russia coming to you live on your World of Champions. Do watch us every single day. SuperSport 3 will be bringing you all of the action. Tomorrow we'll also be seeing one of our African hopefuls, Senegal. They're in action tomorrow, which is Sunday, the 24th of June. But right now, let's get the thoughts of the Springbok coach, Rassie Erasmus. What is he thinking about this match?
South Africa champion.
Rassie, at half-time, you asked for better discipline from the players, but the penalty count continued to mount in that second half.
Yeah, well, I probably should point the finger at myself there. You know, if you as a coach can't get the guys more disciplined during a game after half-time chat, then probably you said something wrong or they didn't understand the message, you know. And that test match rugby, although it's 3 points, 6 points, 9 points in weather like this, you know, then you start chasing a game and you have to play in your own half in weather like this. So I thought discipline was terrible, and I'll have to go and do some homework.
Yeah, so penalties and also the breakdown turnovers. It seemed that England just managed the breakdown perhaps a bit better.
I know Glenn, the way Glenn referees, he likes a clear breakdown, you know. He gives the most penalties of all referees. The stat shows it before this game. He's very hard at penalty counts at breakdown, and he did the same. So we knew that and we prepared for that, but we executed not great. And again, you know, something somewhere during the week. I know we had a lot of new players and combinations and stuff, but that shouldn't influence penalty count, discipline, breakdown, you know. It should influence other things. So no, there's no excuses for that.
What about the lessons learned over the course of the series with this group of players who you now have to send back to Super Rugby franchises before Rugby Championship?
No, great lessons learned. Not just about the players, about us as a coaching team and how we approach a week, and you know, and how after 2 wins you must still get the guys to stay focused on small little things that bit us today. And again, this week I as a coach learned a lot. You know, there's some guys that you must put the pedal on a little bit. Other guys you can just leave and they'll pitch up the same way they always do. And that's how we'll learn as a group. But it's always terrible to lose, you know. So it's not nice. The series is won, but it's terrible to lose here at Newlands.
But also important to learn about conditions like this, which were completely different to what you faced the first couple of games.
Yeah, we like to play tempo game and speed it up, you know. In England, like to slow it down and play set piece to set piece. And you know, in this weather, it's difficult to speed it up, and it's difficult to run from your own half. So yes, and we might get that in Japan next year, you know. And these players will definitely learn from today. But we mustn't be one of those teams who just always say we're learning, but we're never implementing after learning. So yes, we must learn, but we must now implement if we get weather like this again.
Now, Rassie speaks about this weather, and quite fitting that the Russians in the van, I think they brought the weather along with them. It is vodka weather. It is vodka weather, can't deny that. But, Jean, overall, the series, will Rassie be satisfied? Will Eddie be heartened at the way they bounce back?
Yeah, I think Eddie will be happy that he won the last game. So, he's back to fight another day. From a South African point of view, I think Rassie will be... He'll be relieved that we won the series. He won't be happy. He won't be happy that we lost the last game, and I think there's still a lot of improvement. But if you look at the South African public, and from our point of view, before the series started, not a lot of people was positive about the prospect of this series. So we would have taken a 2-1 win prior to the series. So I think it is purely just as improving all the time, going to Rugby Championship. It will be a different challenge, and seeing if we can get better until we get to the World Cup next year.
Jeremy, we saw a couple of visiting fans. They got a little bit vocal when the English kept the crowd quiet, which is something that you speak about, the importance of doing that, of traveling and silencing the home crowd. They'll be really happy with that. Going back home after what looked like could have been a 3-0 whitewash.
Yeah, they've saved the whitewash, which is good news. They've got a victory, which will give them confidence. They can have a little summer off now, thinking about the next game and not worrying too much. The review will be pretty brutal, I think. It will expose that England don't have the strength in depth that they once thought. They thought Eddie's working, like all coaches going to the World Cup, of having 3 players in every single position. England haven't got that at the moment, and the 10, 12, 13 hasn't been sorted out. I think we've got Riches, the 2 wingers and the fullback. We used to be very strong in depth in the second row. Just found out we're not. The front rows are still challenging, and who can replace Billy Vunipola? Because Nathan Hughes had a steady game, but not a mind-blowing game. And what we touched on at the beginning of the programme with the finishers, where the subs coming on, making an impact. They came on this evening and held the fort. Didn't let the doors get bashed down like they did in the 2 previous games. So looking for some X factor. That's what Eddie will be looking for leading up to the World Cup.
Well, he is a man who's got quite a relationship with South Africa, having helped coach the team in 2007, having been appointed as a coach at this very stadium for the Stormers, but obviously after that opting to take on the England job. He'll have some really strong views after what he's seen, and perhaps a lot of those touching on what Jeremy has spoken about with an eye to next year's World Cup.
Eddie, congratulations, job well done. But if you look across your entire team, they all contributed, but especially those who were selected for today who perhaps didn't contribute last week, some outstanding performances.
Yeah, no, some really good performances today. I thought Rob Shaw was good. Cipriani had one moment to take and he took it. And so that was really useful for us. But it was a great team effort today. I thought the senior players led well. And what were difficult conditions. Test match rugby's played in all different conditions, and today was a testing conditions. And it's probably we're going to have some games very similar in the World Cup like this.
You said before the game the importance of the pack and how they went at set piece. They did outstandingly at set piece, including defending the line-out drive a couple of times.
Yeah, for an old guy like me, it's nice to see rugby games like this where you got 8 against 8, and then there's a winner and a loser, and generally who wins that contest wins the game. And that's what it was like today. And our pack, I think, probably had the edge. The Springboks more in the first 2 tests dominated us, but we've had a good week's preparation and found a way to be better today.
And what about the feeling in the team ending off the series on a win? You're playing South Africa next at Twickenham.
Yeah, well, we can't wait to get them there. It'd be nice if we were playing next week, because I think we've seen each week on the tour us get better as a team. As I've said, and I haven't used it as an excuse, but we have got a young team here, and they need time together to play. We've had a young captain who's matured. You can see in the 3 weeks he's matured as a captain. Today I thought he handled Jacko very well. He's learned from the previous 2 games. So, we'd like to play him next week. Maybe we can organise another game next week.
What about discipline? It's been a theme for you over the first 2 test matches, and in the most difficult conditions of the tour, it was your team today that kept their discipline.
Yeah, well, it's always, you've got to learn from your mistakes, and a lot of the time discipline is a lack of trust in your teammate and in yourself. And I think we've had a bit of that, people trying to solve it by themselves rather than allow the team to solve it, and that was much better today.
Congratulations on the win here. We'll see you at Twickenham.
Thank you. Can't wait. Cheers.
He started off by referring to next year's Rugby World Cup, Victor. Very interesting that he highlights the conditions as some that might be faced by teams when they go there next year. And Eddie does know a lot about Japan.
Yeah, he knows the conditions very well. He coached over there. I think in 3 years' time he only lost one game. So he knows what the conditions are like over there. But like he said, his team really showed today. They showed the composure that John spoke about. They took control. They were the calmer team. And their forwards were the guys getting on the front foot, making the turnovers at the breakdown. So he'll be happy. And South Africa will know there's certain things that we still have to work on. But we've won this series, and I think it's a great start for Russia and the team.
Well, thank you, Vic. Thank you very much, John. And especially thank you to you, Jeremy.
I'm going to miss Jerry, eh?
We are going to miss him. I think he wants to stay in Cape Town.
I'm coming back to Cape Town.
Yeah, I
You'll see
think
me in January.
his family doesn't know yet, but we'll let them know. And to our 80-man crew, the most unbelievable and talented and gifted men and women at SuperSport for putting together 3 wonderful test matches, to all of the fans, to the travelling English, not just the players and management, but their supporters as well. It's been an absolute honour and a pleasure to bring you this 3-test inbound series. We look forward to when the Springboks yet again will take to the field. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.